After meeting God at Bethel, Jacob continued his journey to Haran, where his uncle Laban lived. As he got closer, he saw a well. The well had 3 flocks of sheep around it. So Jacob stopped to talk to the shepherds. He asked them if they knew a man called Laban, Nahor's grandson. The shepherds said, "Yes, we know him." Excited to finally find his uncle, Jacob asked, "How is he?" "Oh, Laban and his family are well," answered the shepherds. Suddenly, one of them said, "Look, here comes Laban's daughter, Rachel." When Jacob looked, he saw a beautiful woman leading her father's sheep. Now each well was covered with a big stone. At this well, the shepherds always waited until everyone had arrived. Then, together, they would roll away the big stone and water the sheep. But when Jacob saw Rachel, he couldn't wait. He rolled that big, heavy stone off the well and watered Rachel's sheep all by himself. Jacob was so happy to have found his uncle's family that he kissed Rachel and told her that he was Rebekah's son. Immediately, Rachel ran home to tell her father. When Laban heard the news, he came quickly to the well to meet Jacob. As soon as he saw his nephew, he hugged him and invited him to come home. After a month with his uncle, Jacob was getting to know the family. Laban had 2 daughters. The older one was Leah. She had weak eyes. And the younger one was Rachel. She was beautiful, and Jacob loved her very much. While Jacob was there, he worked for his uncle Laban. Laban noticed that Jacob was a hard worker, so he said to him, "How can I pay you?" Jacob thought for a moment, then said, "I will work for you 7 years, if you'll let me marry your youngest daughter, Rachel." Laban agreed. Jacob was so happy that he would get to marry Rachel that the 7 years went by very quickly. When the 7 years ended, Jacob told Laban he had worked as he had promised, and it was time for Laban to let Rachel be his wife. So Laban gathered everyone together and held a big wedding feast. But in the evening, he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob to be his wife instead of Rachel. It was dark, and Jacob couldn't see who his bride was. In the morning, he discovered that it was Leah. Laban had deceived him. Jacob was furious and went to see Laban. "Why have you done this to me? We have a bargain. I worked for 7 years just as we agreed for Rachel, not Leah." Laban looked at him and simply said, "In this country, my boy, the oldest daughter has to be married first. Then the youngest daughter can get married." Now, wedding celebrations usually lasted a whole week. So Laban told Jacob, "You can marry Rachel after your celebration with Leah is finished, but only if you promise to work another 7 years. So Jacob and Rachel also got married, and Jacob continued working for Laban another 7 years. Jacob loved Rachel more than Leah. But God was kind to Leah, and he blessed her with 4 sons, while Rachel had none. Reuben was the firstborn. Then came Simeon, Levi, and Judah. When Judah was born, Leah proclaimed, "Now I will praise the Lord." Jacob had been working for his father-in-law, Laban, for many years. One day, he heard Laban's sons talking. They said that Jacob had taken all their father's wealth and honor. Jacob just didn't know what to do. He also noticed that Laban was not as friendly towards him as before. One night, the Lord spoke to Jacob in a dream. God wanted Jacob to know that he had seen that Laban was trying to cheat him. God told Jacob that it was time for him to go home to his people and that he would be with him. So Jacob called a meeting with Rachel and Leah. He told them all about how their father and brothers had been treating him. "Your father has been unfair and changed my wages 10 times. But God has kept him from harming me. Instead, God has blessed me. You see, your father was paying me by letting me keep some newborn lambs. First, he said I could keep the speckled lambs. So God made all the lambs to be born speckled. Then the next year, Laban changed his mind and said I could have the spotted ones. Then he said I could have the striped ones. On and on, your father kept changing his mind. However, God was always on my side. Whatever newborn lambs Laban said I could have, that's what God caused to be born. So God took away Laban's flocks and gave them to me. And now God is telling us it's time to go." Then Rachel and Leah said, "Whatever God has said for you to do, we will do it. There's nothing left for us here. Our father doesn't even treat us like daughters anymore." So Jacob gathered his family and they packed up everything they owned. Together with their servants, flocks, and herds, they headed back to his people. But while they were packing, Rachel secretly stole her father's idols and hid them among her belongings. While Laban was away, Jacob and his family fled. On the third day, Laban found out that they were gone. He took some men from the family and went after Jacob. "Hut, hut, hut!" When Laban found Jacob, he said, "Why did you go without saying goodbye? I didn't get to kiss my daughters or my grandchildren. I could have had a big party for you. You know, I could harm you. But in a dream, your God told me to leave you alone." Jacob replied, "I was afraid that you would take Rachel and Leah away from me. So we left quickly." Then Laban asked, "But why did you steal my idols?" Now remember, Jacob didn't know that Rachel had stolen her father's idols. So he told Laban to check everywhere. "If you find anything that's yours, take it. And whoever stole your idols, they will die." Rachel had hidden her father's idols in her camel's saddle and was sitting on them. When the men came to search her tent, she said she could not get up because she was unwell. Oh. So Laban didn't search where she was sitting. He looked and looked everywhere else, but couldn't find the idols. When the search was over, Jacob was very angry and said to Laban, "What have you done? And what have I done wrong? Why have you come after me like this? I have worked for you 20 years. I know if God was not on my side, you would have sent me away with nothing." Laban told Jacob, Listen, these are my daughters and my grandchildren, and they were my flocks. Let's make an agreement between us before God not to harm each other." So Jacob agreed and built a memorial. He set up a large stone as a pillar. Then he told Laban's companions to do the same. When they finished bringing stones, the heap was so big that they ate a meal together on top of it. That's how they celebrated their agreement. After the meal, Jacob and Laban made a promise before God. They agreed to never travel beyond their memorial to harm each other. After this, Jacob offered a sacrifice to the Lord. Early the next morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and said goodbye and blessed them. As Jacob and his family were traveling back to his home country, Jacob saw a host of angels. Right away, he knew they were from God. So Jacob named the place where he saw them Mekanaim, which means God's camp. As Jacob got closer to where his brother Esau lived, he became very afraid. Was Esau still angry with him after all these years? Would Esau still want to kill him? And what about his family? Jacob decided to send messengers to talk to Esau and prepare the way for him to come home. The messengers were to tell Esau that Jacob had been staying with their uncle Laban and had become very rich. So they went and delivered the message. When the messengers returned, they told Jacob that Esau was coming to meet him and had 400 men with him. Now Jacob was really afraid. So he came up with a plan. He divided his flocks, herds, camels, and servants into 2 groups. He thought if Esau attacked one group, the other could escape. After this, Jacob prayed. He reminded God that he had told him to return to his country and to his people. He said, "Remember, God, you said you would help me. I am not worthy of all you have given me. I left with nothing, and now I return with much. Please keep Esau from killing me and my family. I'm so afraid, God." That night, Jacob stayed right where he had prayed. Then he decided he would send his brother a present. He picked out hundreds of goats, sheep, cattle, donkeys, and camels with their young. The servants of each herd were to tell Esau that the animals were a gift from Jacob and that Jacob would be following behind them. That night, Jacob sent his family and all his possessions across the brook Jabbok, but he himself lingered behind. Once Jacob was alone, a man appeared, and they wrestled and wrestled all night long. Jacob, he fought valiantly. When the man saw he had not defeated Jacob, he knocked Jacob's hip out of the joint. Then the man said to Jacob, "Let me go! The sun is coming up!" But Jacob replied, "I won't let you go unless you bless me." So the man asked, "What is your name?" "My name is Jacob." Then the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have wrestled with God and with man, and you have overcome." And so it was. From that day forward, Jacob became known as Israel, because he now had power with God and man. When Jacob asked the man what his name was, the man wouldn't tell him. He blessed Jacob and disappeared. Jacob knew that he had seen God and lived. That's why he named this place Peniel, which means the face of God. So the next morning, Jacob continued on his journey, limping as he went. When the brothers saw each other, Esau ran to meet Jacob. But Jacob was still afraid, so he bowed down to the ground. To Jacob's surprise, Esau embraced him. So Jacob hugged him back, and they cried together. It had been so very long since they had seen each other. Jacob wanted his brother to meet his family. He introduced them one by one. Then Esau and Jacob parted ways. When Jacob arrived in Canaan, he bought a field and there built an altar to the Lord. During the time of the great famine, Jacob and his family came to Egypt. Joseph, one of his sons, had become very powerful in the land. He made a way for his father and brothers to move there with all their children and with everything they had. After a long time, Jacob and all his children died. But his grandchildren lived on and had lots of their own children. Their children had children until they filled the land of Egypt. As they multiplied, they became known as the Hebrews. About this time, a new Pharaoh began to rule over Egypt. This Pharaoh didn't know about Joseph and how he had helped the Egyptians during the famine. He only saw that the Hebrew people had become many and filled his land. The Pharaoh was afraid. He told his people that the Hebrews might side with an enemy and attack them. This made the Egyptians afraid of the Hebrews too. So the Pharaoh made the Hebrew people his slaves. He put slave drivers over them and ordered them to make bricks and build cities. They worked very, very hard in the land. But even in captivity, God blessed the Hebrews. The more they were afflicted, the more they multiplied. This made the Egyptians even more afraid. So the slave drivers became mean and cruel and made the Hebrews work even harder than before. Pharaoh decided something more had to be done. He ordered the 2 Hebrew midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, to kill every baby boy as soon as they were born. But these women loved God and knew that what the Pharaoh told them to do was wrong. So they didn't do what Pharaoh said, and God blessed them. The number of Hebrews continued to grow and grow. So Pharaoh gave a new command. He ordered his people to throw every newborn Hebrew boy into the river. During this time, a Hebrew couple, Amram and Jochebed, had a beautiful baby boy. They decided to hide him from the Egyptians. For 3 whole months, his mother kept him hidden and safe. When she couldn't hide him any longer, she made him a basket. She laid her baby boy in the special basket and put it among the reeds on the side of the river. His sister stood nearby to watch and see what would happen to her baby brother. A short time later, Pharaoh's daughter and her attendants came down to the river to bathe. Pharaoh's daughter saw the basket in the reeds. She said to her maid, "Go and fetch that basket for me." When she opened it, she found a surprise. There was a baby boy crying. When she saw him, she was full of compassion and said, "This is one of the Hebrew babies." When the baby's sister saw what had happened, she went to Pharaoh's daughter and asked, "Do you want me to find a Hebrew nurse for the baby?" Pharaoh's daughter said, "Yes, please go." So the girl went and got her mother. When the baby's mother came, Pharaoh's daughter said, "Please take this baby and care for him. I will pay you." So she took him and nursed him. When the baby got a little older, the mother brought him back to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses because she drew him out of the water. Moses grew up in the palace as a grandson of Pharaoh. He had been rescued by the princess when all the Hebrew baby boys had been thrown into the river. He was now a prince in Egypt. One day, he went out to visit his people. When he looked around, he noticed that the Hebrew slaves were working very, very hard. Then something caught his eye. An Egyptian man was beating one of the slaves. Moses was very angry. This was one of his people. Moses looked this way and that. He didn't see anyone watching him, so he advanced towards the Egyptian to defend the slave. That's when it happened. Moses killed the Egyptian and buried his body in the sand. The next day, when he went to visit the Hebrews, he saw 2 men fighting. Moses spoke to one of them and said, "Why are you hitting your brother?" Then the Hebrew man was angry with Moses and said, "Who made you judge over us? Are you going to kill me just like you killed that Egyptian yesterday?" When Moses heard this, he became very afraid. He thought to himself, "Oh no, everyone knows what I've done." Sure enough, when Pharaoh heard what had happened, he was angry. "How dare he kill an Egyptian?" he thought. Then he decided Moses must die. But Moses escaped from Pharaoh. He left Egypt and ended up in the land of Midian. When he got there, he sat down by a well to rest. While he was resting, 7 women came to the well to water their father's sheep. Their father was Reuel, the priest of Midian, also known as Jethro. After his daughters had started drawing water, some mean shepherds came along and chased them away before they could finish. When Moses saw this, he stood up and rescued them from the mean shepherds. Then he helped the women by watering their sheep. When the sisters got home, their father was surprised. "How is it that you have returned so quickly?" "Oh, Father, an Egyptian saved us today from the rude shepherds." "Yeah, and he even drew water for our flocks." Jethro was very thankful to this mysterious man.
Where is he? Why didn't you bring him with you? Invite him to come and eat bread with us.
So he came and decided to stay with them. After some time, Moses married Zipporah, one of Jethro's 7 daughters. Together, they had a son. When he was born, Moses said, "I will name him Gershom, because I have been a traveler in a foreign land." While Moses and Zipporah were living with her father Jethro, the Pharaoh who wanted to kill Moses died. During all this time, the Hebrew people kept working as slaves for the Egyptians. They were so tired that they began to cry out to God for help. And God heard them. He saw their suffering and began to put his plan into action. So one day, God showed Moses something amazing. Moses had led Jethro's sheep to Horeb, the mountain of God. While there, he saw a burning bush. Although this bush was ablaze, it was not burning up. And in the middle of it was the angel of the Lord. Moses decided that he wanted to get a closer look at this strange sight. When God saw that Moses was coming closer, he called out to him from the fire and said,
Moses! Moses!
Moses answered, "Here I am."
Don't be afraid. Don't come any closer, Moses. Take off your sandals, because you are standing on holy ground. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and of Jacob.
As he spoke, Moses became afraid to look at God. Then God continued to talk to Moses and told him many things about the Hebrew people. God said he had seen the suffering of his people and heard their cries for help. He told Moses about his plan to set them free from their slavery and bring them to the land he promised them. Then God said,
I am sending you, Moses, to Pharaoh so you can bring my people out of Egypt.
But Moses argued with God and said, "Who am I to go to Pharaoh? Who am I to bring the people out of their slavery?" But God assured him that he would not be alone. God would go with him, and he would serve God again on this very mountain. So Moses inquired, "When the Hebrew people ask, 'Who sent me?' what will I tell them?"
I am that I am. Tell them I am has sent you, the Lord God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is my name forever, and is to be remembered.
God wanted Moses to convince the Hebrew leaders to go with him to speak to Pharaoh. Although it would not be easy, God assured him he would do signs and wonders to set them free. But after all this, Moses still doubted. "The people won't believe me." So God gave him 3 signs. First, Moses threw his staff on the ground, and it became a snake. When he picked it up, it became a wooden staff again. Secondly, Moses put his hand into his cloak, and it became white with leprosy. And then he put it into his cloak again, and it was healed. God told Moses if they would not believe these 2 signs, then he had a 3rd one. Moses would take some water from the Nile River and pour it on the ground. That water would become blood. It was becoming clear that God was more than able to deliver his people. But Moses still wasn't sure that he was the right person to be sent. He told the Lord that it wasn't easy for him to speak. Then the Lord said,
Who made man's mouth? Who makes him able to speak or not to speak? Who makes him able to hear or not to hear, to see or not to see? Is it not I? Now go, and I will tell you what to say.
But, Moses said, "But please send someone else." Then God was very angry with Moses and said,
Don't you have a brother Aaron who is a good speaker? You will speak to him, and he will speak for you. I will be with you and put the words in your mouth. In fact, Aaron is coming to meet you right now. Take this staff with you and use it to do the signs that I have shown you."
So Moses obeyed and was sent as God's special messenger to Pharaoh. God's messenger Moses was on his way to Egypt when his brother Aaron came out to meet him. Aaron was excited to see his brother again after a long time. Moses told Aaron what God had sent him to do and showed him the signs from God.
"And you, my brother, are going to be my spokesman. Whoa, God really is with you."
So they continued together back to the land of Egypt. When they arrived in Goshen, Moses and Aaron met with the Hebrew elders. Then they summoned all the people of Israel to come and listen.
"Listen to what the Lord God of Abraham has spoken to you."
Aaron told the people all that God had spoken to Moses and how he had sent Moses to deliver them from the Egyptians. Then Moses showed them the signs from God, and they believed. Oh! Wow! When the people heard that God had seen their afflictions and heard their cries for help, they bowed their heads and gave God worship. Next, Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh.
"The Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says to you, 'Let my people go into the wilderness so they can hold a feast in my honor.'"
But Pharaoh was not so easily persuaded. "Who is the Lord? Why should I obey his voice? I do not know him, and I will not let Israel go."
"Please, the God of the Hebrews has met with us. Let us go on a 3-day journey into the wilderness that we might sacrifice to the Lord our God. If we don't obey him, he might send us a plague, or worse, war to us."
But Pharaoh became hard and spoke harshly. "The Hebrews are many, and they are my slaves. Stop interrupting them. They must get back to work." As soon as Moses and Aaron left, Pharaoh called the taskmasters. "Don't give the Hebrews any more straw. Clearly they have become lazy and don't have enough to do. They want to go on a 3-day journey to sacrifice to their God. So make them work harder. Then they will not have time to listen to the empty, lying words of Moses and Aaron. They can go and gather their own straw for making bricks. But they must make as many bricks as before." So the taskmasters went out and told the people what Pharaoh had commanded. They scattered everywhere, frantically looking for straw, but they could only find stubble. The taskmasters were relentless and pressured them without mercy. "Get a move on! You've got bricks to make!" After 2 days of hard labor, the Hebrew slave leaders were punished for not making enough bricks. The Hebrew slave leaders had enough of this and went to see Pharaoh. "Why are you treating us like this? You expect us to make your bricks without straw? We have been beaten by your taskmasters. If they don't give us straw, we cannot make as many bricks as before. You lazy, idle people! Get back to work and forget about getting any straw." When the Hebrew slave leaders found Moses, they were very angry. "God will punish you, Moses. You have caused Pharaoh and his officers to hate us. They're working us to death." But Moses prayed, "Lord, why did you send me? Since I came to Pharaoh and to speak in your name, he has treated them worse than before. And you have not delivered your people at all."
"Moses, do not fear Pharaoh. He has shown a strong arm against my people, but I will use a strong arm against him. I have heard the groanings of my people. Tell them, I will bring you out of Egypt and deliver you from slavery. I will do this with great judgments. You will be my people, and I will be your God. I will bring you into the land that I swore to give to Abraham. I am the Lord."
Moses faithfully told the people what God had said, But they did not listen to him because they were discouraged by the harsh treatment and overbearing load. So God said to Moses,
Go, tell Pharaoh, let my people go.
Lord, your people haven't listened to me. Why do you think Pharaoh will listen?
Pharaoh's heart will be hard, even after I show him mighty signs and wonders. True, he will not listen to you, but you still must tell him to let my people go. Have faith. I will bring all the Hebrews out of Egypt by great acts of judgment. Then the Egyptians will know that I am God.
When Moses and Aaron went to see Pharaoh, Aaron cast down his staff before Pharaoh, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh called his 2 magicians. They too cast down their rods, and they also became serpents. But Aaron's staff swallowed up both of their rods. This showed that the power of the God of the Hebrews was so much greater than the power of Egypt's magicians. But Pharaoh's heart was still hard, and he would not listen to Moses and Aaron. What would God do next? The Hebrews were still slaves in Egypt, but God had seen them and sent his messenger Moses to Pharaoh to say, "Let my people go." When God saw that Pharaoh would not listen, he gave Moses more instructions.
Tomorrow, go to the edge of the Nile River, take your staff, and tell Pharaoh that because he refuses to obey me, I am going to show him that I am God. I will strike the waters of the Nile, and all the waters of Egypt will turn into blood.
Early the next morning, Pharaoh met Moses at the Nile. When Moses' staff struck the water, instantly the Nile, with all the rivers and ponds of Egypt, became blood. The fish died and stunk so bad that no one could drink the water. This was the first of 10 plagues God would send to Egypt. The magicians of Egypt also made water turn to blood by their secret arts. So Pharaoh's heart grew hard, and he refused to listen. 7 days later, God sent Moses again, and again Pharaoh refused. So God sent the second plague. An army of frogs covered the whole land of Egypt. They were in the houses, on the beds, in the ovens, and on the plates. Frogs were everywhere. The magicians were also able to bring up frogs through their secret arts, but they could not make them go away. This was a real problem. So Pharaoh begged Moses to pray that God would send the frogs away. The next morning, God did so. All the frogs died, but Pharaoh still did not let the Hebrews go. The next time, when Pharaoh refused, the Lord told Moses to strike the dust of the earth. When he did, the dust became lice throughout all the land of Egypt, on the people and animals. The magicians tried to bring forth lice by their secret arts too. But this plague was too great for them.
This is the finger of God.
But Pharaoh's heart remained hard, and he did not listen. So next, the Lord sent a 4th plague on Egypt. This time, thick swarms of flies went throughout all the land. The flies filled the houses and covered the fields, overwhelming and harassing the people. But in Goshen, where God's people lived, there were no flies. God was making a difference between his people and Pharaoh's people. Pharaoh was desperate and called Moses and Aaron to negotiate.
Okay. I'll let you go worship your God, but don't go too far. Now please talk to God about these flies.
I will ask God, as you requested, to remove the flies, but I'm warning you not to change your mind again.
So God removed the flies. Not one remained. But still, Pharaoh was unfaithful to what he said and would not let the people go. So God sent a terrible disease upon all the cattle in Egypt, including the horses, the donkeys, the camels, the oxen, and the sheep. But God did not allow the disease to touch any of the animals belonging to his people. Next, God told Moses and Aaron to take handfuls of soot from a furnace and throw them into the air. When they did, the soot became fine dust over the whole land of Egypt, and all the people and animals in the land were now covered with painful boils. Even the magicians, they could no longer stand before Moses. Then God sent fire and ice. Moses went to warn Pharaoh. "Because you still won't listen, tomorrow it will rain hail upon Egypt. Bring your servants and animals in where it is safe." Pharaoh ignored the warning, but his servants, who now feared the Lord, hurried to save their servants and animals, helping them take shelter. When the hailstorm came, everything and everyone that was left in the fields died. But in the land of Goshen, where the Hebrews lived, everyone remained safe. God continued to send Moses to warn Pharaoh, but after 7 plagues, he was still unwilling to listen. So God sent locusts into the land. There were so many that they covered the ground and devoured all that was left in the fields. Pharaoh's servants pleaded with him to let the people go.
Send Moses away. He's destroying all of Egypt. Let the Hebrews go so they may serve their God. We can't stand this anymore.
So Pharaoh called Moses.
Go already, serve your God, you and all the Hebrew men. But leave your women and your children here with me. They are mine.
No, everyone must go. Pharaoh was angry. He refused to negotiate any more with Moses. So the Lord said to Moses,
Extend your hand towards heaven, and I will send darkness over the land of Egypt, a darkness so thick that it can be felt.
So Moses raised his hand towards heaven, and a terrible darkness came over all the land of Egypt for 3 whole days. It was so dark the people could not see anyone or go anywhere. But in Goshen, the Hebrews had light. So Pharaoh negotiated again.
You win! You can all go, but leave your animals with me.
Not possible. Our animals must go with us too. When Pharaoh saw that he was not getting his way, he raised his voice.
Get out of my throne room and don't come back here again, or you will die.
Moses had done everything God asked him to do, but the people were still slaves in Egypt. Even after these 9 terrible plagues, Pharaoh had not let the people go. In the land of Egypt, God's people were still slaves. God sent 9 plagues on Egypt, each one worse than the last. But still, Pharaoh would not let the people go. The Lord told Moses that he would send one more final plague. So Moses went to Pharaoh. At midnight, all the firstborn in the land will die. Princes and paupers, slaves and animals, the firstborn of every family will be killed. Tonight there will be much sorrow and many tears. By this time tomorrow, you will be begging us to leave Egypt. Moses then went to the Hebrew people and gave them special instructions. God wanted to protect them from the death angel that was coming upon the land. Each family listened carefully to the words of Moses and worshiped God together. At sundown, each family chose a perfect lamb and killed it. 1 lamb for every house. Next, they put the blood of the lamb on the top and sides of their door frames. After applying the blood, they stayed inside until morning. They knew that God would see the blood and the death angel would pass over their home and everyone inside would be safe. This was also a night of feasting. The Hebrew families roasted the whole lamb over the fire and ate it with bitter herbs and a special bread. As they feasted, they were dressed and ready to travel. They even had sandals on their feet, and every father carried his staff. This was the feast of the Lord's Passover. Midnight came. Suddenly, there was a great noise of crying and mourning from every house in Egypt. The death angel had come. Every firstborn in Egypt, even the firstborn of Pharaoh, died as the death angel passed through. Immediately, Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron.
Come on, get out! Leave my people, both you and the Hebrew people. Go, serve the Lord as you have requested. Also take your flocks and your herds, just leave.
Now the Egyptians were urging the people to go quickly out of Egypt too.
We're all dead.
The Hebrews left so quickly they couldn't even finish baking their bread. They took their dough, their clothing, and all that they had and prepared to travel. Their Egyptian neighbors gave them jewels, gold, silver, and clothing as they prepared to leave. This was a new beginning for the Hebrews. After 430 years, they were free to leave Egypt. God would lead his people on foot across the desert through many adventures to the land of Canaan, the land he had promised them. The Hebrews had just been miraculously released from slavery in Egypt, and now they were on their way to the Promised Land.
Look, my son, God is going before us.
Wow! We can follow that pillar of cloud to know the way.
And the pillar of fire by night to give us light.
They traveled on foot to the edge of the desert until they came to the Red Sea. They had taken with them everything they owned. There at the Red Sea, the Lord told Moses to have the Hebrews set up camp. When Pharaoh and his advisors heard that the Hebrews were gone, their hearts were turned against them. They began to realize what this meant for them.
What in the world have we done? We let our slaves go free?
So Pharaoh quickly got 600 chariots and his army ready and went after them. Pharaoh and his army got closer and closer. Their chariots thundered and horses neighed in fury. When the Hebrews saw them coming, armed for battle, they were terrified. The Israelites turned to Moses.
Did you bring us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? Are there no graves in Egypt? What in the world have you done to us? Oh, it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die like this.
But Moses was full of faith. Don't be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. The Egyptians that you see today, you will never see again. God will fight for you. Then the Lord said to Moses,
Get moving. Lift up your staff and reach your hand towards the sea and divide it. Then the Hebrews will go through the middle of the sea on dry ground.
At that moment, the angel of God moved and went behind them. The pillar of cloud followed, also moving behind the people to protect them from the Egyptians. On their side of the pillar, the Egyptians couldn't see anything, but the pillar gave the Hebrews light. When Moses stretched out his hand towards the sea, the Lord sent a strong east wind that blew on the sea all night, dividing the water. At the break of dawn, the people saw the dry path in the middle of the sea, leading to the other side. On each side, the water stood up like walls, so the Hebrews could cross between them on dry ground. When the people had nearly finished crossing, the sun was coming up, and the Egyptians could now see enough to chase them. All of Pharaoh's chariots and horsemen pursued them into the middle of the sea. That's when God threw the whole army into a panic. He caused the wheels of their chariots to fall off.
Turn back! Turn back!
God is against us!
Once the Hebrews were safe on the other side, Moses stretched his hand towards the sea a second time, and the waters began returning to cover the dry ground. When the Egyptians saw the waters, they tried to escape, but it was too late. The whole army drowned in the sea. Then Moses and all the people sang a song of victory. It was a celebration. By his great power, God had made a way for them through the Red Sea, safe on the other side. Hundreds of years after the Hebrews entered the Promised Land, the people became known as the nation of Israel. Now they wanted a king, like all the other nations, so God gave them what they wanted. He gave them a man named Saul as king. But Saul loved to please the people, more than he loved to please God. He did not always obey God, so God rejected him as king. What would Israel do? Who would be their next king? Now God often revealed special things to his servants, the prophets. One day, God appeared to the prophet Samuel to talk about Israel's next king.
How long do you intend to weep for Saul? I have rejected him as king over the nation. Fill your horn with olive oil and go. I'm sending you to Bethlehem, for I have chosen a king for myself from among the sons of Jesse.
How can I go? Saul will hear about it and kill me.
Take a cow with you and say, I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Then invite Jesse to the sacrifice and anoint the one I will show you.
When he arrived in Bethlehem, the elders of the city were concerned.
Is everything okay? Do you come in peace?
Yes, in peace. I have come to sacrifice to God. Get ready and call Jesse and his sons to join us.
Now Jesse had 8 sons. When they arrived, Samuel noticed Jesse's oldest son, Eliab, and said to himself,
This must be God's chosen king.
But the Lord had a different thought. Don't be impressed by his looks or his height, for I have rejected him. God does not look at things the way people do. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Then Jesse called his second and third oldest sons and presented them to Samuel as well.
The Lord has not chosen these either.
One after another, each son came before Samuel, but each one was rejected. Then Samuel asked Jesse,
Are all your sons here?
No, I have another son, David. He's in the fields taking care of the sheep. Now David, the youngest, was a handsome boy with bright eyes. He spent much time taking care of his father's sheep and worshiping God with his harp.
Send for him! We can't do anything else until he gets here.
When David arrived from the fields, God revealed that this was his choice for king.
He is the one. Anoint him king.
With his father and brothers present, Samuel took the horn full of oil and poured it on David's head, anointing him to be the next king of Israel. From that day onward, the Spirit of God came upon David in a powerful way. He became known as a skillful musician, a faithful son, and a mighty man of war. David had been anointed to be the next king, but he wasn't king yet. In the meantime, his father still needed him to take care of the sheep, and David was good at it. He was a brave shepherd who wasn't afraid to defend the sheep from lions and bears. David liked caring for the sheep, but what he loved most was spending time with God, playing songs on his harp.
The Lord's my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters.
Meanwhile, Saul was still king. But because he had been disobedient, the Spirit of the Lord left him, and now an evil spirit had come, tormenting him. Sir, an evil spirit from God is tormenting you. Let me look for a man who knows how to play the harp. Then whenever the evil spirit comes upon you, he can play and sing, and then you will feel better. Saul agreed and sent his servants to look for such a man. One servant returned with good news.
There's a man named Jesse in Bethlehem. I've heard his son David play the harp. He plays very well. The Lord is with this young man. He's brave and well-spoken and handsome.
So Saul sent messengers to Jesse asking for David.
Send me your son David, who is out with the sheep.
So Jesse loaded a donkey with gifts. bread, wine, and a young goat and sent it to King Saul with his son. When Saul saw David, he loved him. He was about the same age as his own son, Jonathan, and the two became inseparable friends. David became one of Saul's royal servants and played the harp for the king whenever he requested it. David's music brought peace and refreshing to Saul, and whenever he would sing and play, the evil spirit left him alone. David's songs were very special. He would later become known as the sweet psalmist of Israel because he wrote so many psalms that many people still sing today.
One thing have I asked of you, Lord. That's what I'm looking for, that I may dwell in your house all the days of my life.
The Philistines were gathered for battle against the nation of Israel. The two armies stood facing each other on opposite hills with a valley between them. The Philistine champion was named Goliath. He was a giant and stood nearly 3 meters tall. On his head was a helmet of bronze, and his body was covered in very heavy metal armor. He carried a massive javelin between his shoulders, a big sword at his side, with an iron-headed spear in his hand. For 40 days, the giant Goliath taunted Israel.
Why are you all coming to fight? Choose one man and let him come to face me. If he is able to kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I kill him, then you will be our slaves. I challenge you. Give me a man who will fight me.
King Saul and all Israel's army grew more and more afraid. Morning and evening, the scene repeated itself as the giant terrorized Israel's army. Jesse's 3 oldest sons were soldiers in Israel's army. But David, the youngest, had gone back to care for his father's sheep. One day, Jesse said to David, "Take this bread to your brothers and cheese to their commanders. Now go quickly to the camp and bring back some news about your brothers." David rose early, left his sheep with a keeper, and went to the camp. When he arrived, he saw both armies going out to the front line. He ran through the ranks until he found his brothers. As he talked with them, the giant Goliath came forward and spoke as before. This time, David heard him. He heard the threats of the Philistine champion and his cursing. He watched the Israelite soldiers tremble and flee from the front line. David asked the men around him,
What shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine? Who does this guy think he is to challenge the armies of the living God?
The man who kills Goliath will receive great riches, and even the king's daughter in marriage. Eliab, David's older brother, heard David questioning the men around him.
David, why have you really come? And who is watching those little sheep back home? I know you. You've just come to see the battle. What have I done to upset you?
Then he turned away from Eliab and continued talking with the army. When the king heard of David's courageous words, he sent for him. David stood before the king with boldness.
Let no man's heart fail because of this giant. I will go and fight this Philistine myself.
You can't go. You're too young. He has been fighting battles since before you were born.
But David was not discouraged.
I'm a shepherd. Once, I killed a lion who came after my father's sheep with my bare hands. And a bear. The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear will also deliver me from the hand of this vile Philistine, because he has challenged the armies of the living God.
Saul was speechless. But finally he said,
Go, and may the Lord go with you.
Then Saul gave David his own armor. David tried it on, but it was too big and uncomfortable.
I can't go to battle like this. I've never worn armor before.
So David took it off and went to face the giant with only his shepherd's staff, his leather sling, and 5 smooth stones that he took from a nearby brook. When the Philistine saw young David coming towards him, he mocked him.
Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? By my gods, I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the field.
You come to me with a sword, but I come to you in the name of the Lord, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have challenged. This day my God will deliver you into my hands, and I will cut off your head, for the battle is the Lord's.
Now Goliath was angry, and he came at David to attack him. David ran boldly towards the giant. Reaching his hand into his bag, he took out 1 smooth stone. Then he swung his sling round and round in the air. 1, 2, 3, and away the stone went. It hit the giant right in the forehead, and he fell to the ground. David had killed the giant with only a sling and a stone. David took Goliath's sword and cut off his head. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. Then the army of Israel rose with a shout and pursued the Philistines back to their own country, fighting them all the way. On their way back, they plundered the Philistine camp before returning victorious to Jerusalem.